Do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Blake Lively broke down in court as the judge delivered a devastating verdict that shattered her carefully crafted public image in seconds, freezing the room as the consequences became impossible to ignore. With millions in potential damages looming and a serious criminal referral hanging overhead like a gathering storm, the judge minced no words, branding her actions as calculated deception disguised as brand management and ensuring every person present felt the weight of that accusation echo through the courtroom. In that moment, Lively's perfectly filtered Instagram persona collided headfirst with reality, stripped of soft lighting, curated captions, and lifestyle branding, leaving only a judge, a ruling, and a woman who believed her Hollywood image could smother a legal wildfire. On June 6, 2025, Judge Miriam Calloway issued a decision that did more than sting, it threatened to end careers. Formally titled Carly Benson vs. Blake Lively and Preserve Incorporated, the case centered on allegations of workplace abuse, systematic cover-ups, and what the court described as industrial strength manipulation. The atmosphere was pure courtroom chaos, and Lively arrived not as the polished, empowered entrepreneur celebrated in glossy magazine features, but visibly unraveling, emotionally overwhelmed as the narrative she had curated for years finally collapsed. When Judge Calloway looked directly at her and labeled her the mastermind behind a coordinated abuse cover-up, the fantasy shattered in real time, and the consequences began to turn severe. The fallout was both financial and reputational, and it was anything but symbolic. The ruling carried an $11.4 million judgment, including $8 million in damages tied directly to workplace abuse, along with a federal referral for obstruction of justice involving alleged record tampering and shell company laundering linked to Preserve's branding operations. Then came the moment that detonated her defense, entirely a 42-second surveillance clip mistakenly submitted by her own legal team during routine evidence filing. In less than a minute, the video dismantled years of carefully managed public relations, showing Blake in the midst of an office meltdown, hurling a wine glass across the room in a fit of rage, an image impossible to reconcile with the clean, curated persona she had sold to the public. As the footage played, she reportedly stood and shouted that it was fake, only for the judge to state it was unmistakably authentic, calling it the clearest evidence presented, with Preserve's former security chief confirming the timestamp as January 13, 2016. Her attorneys attempted to suppress the clip by claiming unauthorized surveillance, but forensic analysis revealed no edits, no tampering, and earned zero sympathy from the bench. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Within 24 hours of the video spreading online, Blake Brown's stock affiliate plunged 13 points, and the hashtag Glassgate exploded across social media. Yet the true force behind the collapse was Carly Benson, not a disgruntled former employee, but the assistant Blake allegedly tried to erase, who instead methodically dismantled the empire by testifying that during an argument over candle inventory, Blake hurled a wine glass across the office, shattering more than glass and permanently altering the balance of power. Once the case moved into the Southern District of New York, it stopped being about bad behavior and crossed firmly into potential obstruction of justice territory, the kind where lifestyle aesthetics stop mattering, because orange jumpsuits do not pair well with curated brand images. Judge Calloway did not soften her language, stating plainly that Blake's conduct amounted to calculated deception under the guise of brand management, essentially accusing her of believing she could behave abusively behind closed doors and then smooth it over with filters, captions, and public charm. She went further, delivering a line that felt less like legal commentary and more like a verdict on character, noting that had the situation been handled with basic human decency, there would have been no trial, but public relations warfare was chosen over empathy and accountability. In that moment, it felt less like a ruling and more like a eulogy for an entire manufactured girl boss empire. Even seasoned legal analysts, typically known for emotionless restraint, called it one of the most damning celebrity employer rulings since the Ellen DeGeneres workplace exposure, this time backed by forensic evidence rather than anonymous accounts. The financial side only deepened the darkness, as audits uncovered not just red flags but what investigators described as a blaring siren pointing toward hush money, including $228,000 labeled as consulting fees paid to a company called CB Holdings, formed just 2 weeks after Carly's emergency room visit. The coincidence strained credibility, especially since the initials matched Carly Benson's name exactly, a detail Blake's team tried to dismiss as meaningless. Carly denied any connection to the company, and investigators found no contracts, no work logs, and no evidence of legitimate consulting services, intensifying suspicion. The situation escalated further when digital records revealed that CB Holdings and 2 additional shell companies were created using an IP address traced directly to the Jones Works crisis communications team, the same group publicly attempting to frame the controversy as minor damage control rather than a legal reckoning. What had been framed as a misunderstanding collapsed entirely once investigators followed the financial trail, as familiar fingerprints turned plausible. Deniability into something far more dangerous. Internal messages entered into evidence only worsened the damage, including a text from Blake stating, "We control the narrative before anyone defines it for us," a line legal experts later described as textbook conspiracy language. Another directive instructed the team to contain Carly's story, noting there was no need to escalate if public relations efforts successfully buried a statement that sounded less like strategy and more like desperation. The courtroom then heard from Jennifer Al, former head of crisis communications at Jones Works, whose testimony detonated whatever defenses remained. Under oath, Jennifer testified that Blake personally ordered the suppression of multiple human resources complaints, not minor workplace disputes, but reports involving intimidation, safety violations, and, in Carly's case, physical assault. According to Jennifer, Blake's priority was never resolving harm, but denying its existence entirely, shifting from damage control to outright damage denial. The most chilling revelation came when Jennifer disclosed that Blake's team accessed private mental health records belonging to employees' records unrelated to the case and analyzed them to discredit potential whistleblowers. One subpoenaed email read, "If Carly flips, we flip it back on her," language the court interpreted as deliberate gaslighting rather than corporate defense. Jennifer further described approved tactics that included planting Favorable People magazine features highlighting Blake's upbringing and creative empowerment soft-focus narratives designed to drown out allegations by flooding media channels with sympathetic imagery. She characterized the operation not as public relations, but as digital warfare against victims, carefully designed, deployed, and authorized at the highest level. Crucially, Jennifer was not treated as a disgruntled former employee seeking revenge. She arrived with extensive documentation, including email chains, Slack messages, internal memos, and timestamps that corroborated every major claim. By the time her testimony concluded, the court was left with a stark conclusion. This was not a celebrity blindsided by chaos, but an individual operating within a system intentionally built to silence and control. IT was a system built to manipulate, suppress, and spin one that ran smoothly until exposure made denial impossible, a kind of quiet warfare on victims that you could feel in the room. The walls of the carefully manufactured Blake Lively brand didn't just crack, they collapsed. And while Blake was busy launching wine glasses and weaponizing puff pieces, someone else lingered in the background of the PR dumpster fire. Mr. Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds. Even the man who can sell a phone plan with a sarcastic voiceover couldn't dodge this mess, because emails entered into court didn't merely hint at his awareness, they practically screamed it. Just 48 hours after Carly's injury, Blake messaged Ryan with a now infamous line, "Handled it. PR will keep your stuff buried. No need to escalate." It read like a scheduling update, not a response to a bleeding assistant with 9 stitches and a mysteriously deleted medical file. Legal analysts immediately asked the obvious question. Did Ryan know about the injury, the PR scrub, the orchestration, or was he simply sipping aviation gin on the sidelines while his wife turned their empire into an HR horror story? Ryan hasn't been formally named in the lawsuit yet, but he's reportedly on the shortlist for subpoenas in the financial misconduct phase, and given the trajectory, that subpoena may arrive before his next auto-generated tweet. And timing matters. His film Animal Friends was originally slated for release in October 2025, but after the courtroom chaos, it was quietly pushed to May 2026. And it wasn't the only thing delayed. Every brand within reach suddenly backed away, unwilling to touch what had become a fully radioactive circus. That poll snapped when 3 major partners quietly paused their endorsements with aviation gin, citing what they delicately called PR sensitivities. Because no brand wants to be associated with a man married to the woman whose name was allegedly erased from an ER file by a PR intern. And this isn't just about what Ryan did or didn't do, it's about the silence. When your wife is accused of covering up workplace abuse and deleting hospital records and you say nothing at all, you don't get to play the innocent bystander. Silence isn't neutrality, it's complicity dressed in a tailored suit. While the courtroom chaos intensified, Blake Lively did what she does best: perform online as if trapped in a Hallmark fever dream, and the result was bizarre, even unhinged. In the middle of an abuse scandal, she posted photos of funeral arrangements and offered to help. Fans plan their funerals, an incomprehensible pivot from support local artisans to I'll coordinate your casket decor while on trial. The internet imploded, backlash poured in, and Blake doubled down, reposting quotes about generosity and being misunderstood, captioned with lines like "People only see what they want to believe," ignoring the fact that people tend to believe video evidence such as footage of her screaming and hurling glass at an employee. According to the Daily Mail, she allegedly went further, drafting her own sympathetic People magazine coverage, crediting her mother for creative empowerment while her former assistant needed empowerment just to survive the workplace. Even fans began to turn as her team posted, deleted, and reposted content 4 times in 48 hours, prompting social media to dub her America's least relatable woman. Who else responds to a lawsuit by alternating between flower photos and vague quotes about kindness? This phase was defined by PR flood tactics, with glossy distractions planted to bury bad press, including stories about Ryan Reynolds buying a sailing club with Hugh Jackman, because nothing signals innocence like a yacht club bromance erupting mid-trial. While Carly Benson endured testimony and trauma therapy, Blake's PR machine pitched headlines like, "Ryan set sail for new horizons," as if nautical vibes could drown out sworn statements. It was like watching a desperate magician point at glitter while the stage burned, but no one bought it because when a brand's last defense is flower pics and yacht clubs, the illusion is dead. Judge Calloway's closing statement didn't just end the trial, it ended careers, declaring plainly that accountability isn't optional because you're famous, and delivering the final blow by stating this was no misunderstanding or mistake, but a deliberate blueprint for erasure. Lively now faces civil penalties, an expanding federal investigation, and the very real threat of industry blacklisting, meaning red carpets may be rolled up for good. Multiple production contracts have been paused indefinitely, Betty Buzz has been pulled from shelves by major retailers, and perhaps most telling of all, her closest celebrity allies have gone silent, including Taylor Swift, whose absence of comment spoke louder than any statement. Meanwhile, Carly Benson did what Blake never could, transforming pain into purpose by launching a non-profit for corporate abuse survivors and raising $1.3 million in just 48 hours, a testament to what happens when people are believed without filters or fluff. Blake's final words in court reportedly framed the entire case as a smear campaign and cast herself as the real victim, a statement that encapsulated the mindset on display throughout the trial. What made the proceedings surreal wasn't just the evidence, but the spectacle. A courtroom that felt like a live-streamed celebrity takedown, reporters crowding every entrance, sketch artists behaving like paparazzi, and audible gasps rippling through the room each time new documents were unsealed. One analyst likened it to a high-stakes Broadway tragedy in which the lead actress failed to realize she was also the villain. The prosecution remained cold and surgical, dropping receipts with precision, while Blake's defense visibly fractured, amid reports that 2 associates walked out during preparation, unwilling to shield a client who mistook good lighting for accountability. When a courtroom becomes an arena, evidence is the only voice that matters, and here it shouted what Blake could not silence. When the gavel finally fell and headlines slowed, there was no director calling cut, no script to rewrite, no lighting crew to soften reality, only wreckage, and this time it belonged entirely to her. And for anyone who thinks this drama has reached its final act, the truth is harsher. Consequences rarely end when the cameras stop rolling. Investigations move slower than gossip, but they cut deeper, and every paused deal represents trust that cannot be rebranded away. Studios now weigh risk over star power, insurers scrutinize morality clauses, executives quietly reassess partnerships once considered untouchable, and employees across the industry are watching, learning that silence has a cost and documentation has power. For survivors, the case sends a clear message that influence does not immunize misconduct, and for brands, it delivers a warning that narrative control collapses under authenticated facts. This chapter closes with records preserved, systems examined, and reputations recalculated, leaving one unmistakable reminder. Fame magnifies choices, and when accountability arrives, it does not ask permission.